Okay, so what I'm doing here is you see me cutting up the onions. I got the green bell pepper here. I got me some bacon cooking. What I'm going to do is this morning we're going to make some home fries. So this is a recipe that I remember from New Jersey. And as a child, my daddy used to always take us to a restaurant and they would always order the home fries. And so this is a quick, simple recipe and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so I just finished cooking this bacon. Look at it, pretty and brown, perfect. And I'm going to use the grease that come off the bacon to cook my potatoes in. I'm also going to add some butter a little later on, but I'm going to use this grease. All right, so I got my green pepper here, and obviously I can't hold the pepper and cut it at the same time, so obviously you'll see that when it's done. And honestly, I probably only use half of it, so I only use one of these. I'll put this one back up and have it for the next time I cook these, because I don't cook it often. I probably might cook it once or twice a month. So yeah, I just use half, and this will be waiting for me when I do the other half. All right, so as you see, I've done chopped my green pepper up. Got my onions over here in this bowl already chopped up, and I'm just going to add this into that. One hand, see how it works. Okay, so what I have here is some onion powder, and I got some seasoned salt. I'm going to add a little of that to my pepper and onions. Now, obviously, this is a step that you don't have to do, but I like to do it. I saw a meme on Facebook that says, I think onion powder goes in everything. I'm one of those people. Onion powder pretty much goes in everything.
I like it.
Good. A little bit of seasoned salt, not a lot. Definitely not a lot of seasoned salt. Okay, so at this point, I had my pot with the grease in it from the bacon off the stove. Now I'm putting it back on the stove, and I'll take my peppers and onions, shake them up real good, get that seasoning on them real good.
Oh, yeah.
Dump them in the pot.
It's delicious. Yum, yum.
I got my fire low, and I'm
I
just letting these onions and peppers cook
can touch
before I cut my potatoes up and add them in. All right, so I got my peppers and onions. They're getting cooked over. They're caramelizing. All of that here, right? Then I got my potatoes. I'm going to cut these potatoes up. I cut off where there were little imperfections or whatever, but I'm going to cut these potatoes up. I'm going to leave the skin on. Real potato people. If you're a real potato person, you will eat the potato and the skin. The skin is good for you. So, hey, when you're making home fries, it is absolutely imperative, in my personal opinion, to leave the skin on, but you don't have to. But yeah, the skin makes this. All right, so all I did here was cut up all my potatoes. What I did was take the potatoes, cut them in half long ways, then cut them in half sideways, and then take each part and just chop them. This is what you get. So it depends on how many people you're trying to feed and how much these people eat, how many potatoes you'll need. So I just used about 5 or 6 potatoes to cut these. So I'm feeding about 4 people, actually, because my baby boy don't eat much. I'm feeding 4 people. So this might be a little overkill. It might be some left over. Okay, so what I got here is a little bit of oregano. Ain't much left. So you see I use that pretty much. See, I got some slap your mama. I'm going to add a little bit of this in there. And I got some basil. And the basil is pretty much just for the pretty looks. It'll make it look pretty. So I'm going to add a little bit of all of this in there. So I just pretty much coat the top layer with my seasonings, right? Now, mind you, you don't want to go too heavy on the slap your mama unless, because this is just the original blend, right? They have one that has, that's the low salt formula. And next time, because I didn't know they had that, next time I'll go back and find the low salt formula. So you don't want to put too much of this, but you can put the basil and the oregano on there. And like I said, I only coated the top So then what I'll do is mix this around and it'll get on the rest of the potatoes. So you don't need a lot of salt. Please do not put a lot of salt. Okay. Okay, so when you put it on the top layer, like I said, and you mix it around, it'll spread pretty evenly. So mind you, I want everybody to understand this. The unwritten rule of home fries is you're supposed to add ketchup. So you don't need that much seasoning in here. So like I said, mostly what you see is my oregano and my basil. That's for the look. It gives it a little aroma, like you can start smelling this stuff with the peppers and the onions. It smells amazing, right? And so you put all of this together and you take this and add this to your pot. Like that. Okay, so now my son is up, thank goodness. And I got my potatoes in the pot. He's holding the camera for me. And so there's a lot of potatoes. Okay, so I'm mixing it in here with my onions and peppers, right? And it's going to take a while to cook. Probably going to take about 20, maybe even 30 minutes, depending on how chunky your potatoes are. Now you see mine, I kept some of them in significant chunks, but many of them I cut down. The thicker your potatoes are, the longer it's going to take to cook. So as you see, my oil is running out in my pan because the potatoes are now soaking them up, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is secret ingredient of home fries is not more oil, it's butter. So I take a chunk of butter and put in there. Some people like to use a lot of butter. I don't think you have to do that. So just put a nice little chunk of butter. And then you're going to need to put a top on this so it can cook. And you have to go back to it every now and then and make sure that it's cooking and stirred around or whatever. You want to be careful with your pots because a lot of times, especially when you leave the skin on the potatoes, they tend to want to stick to the pot. So you got to kind of keep a check on it. Make sure you turn your fire back up. I got mine on medium. Mine goes up to like 8. So I got mine in between 5 and 6 right now. All right, so these potatoes are cooking in really well. You can hear it. It smells good. It sounds good. And when it's done, it's going to taste good. So I still got it going, but it's pretty much done. And when it's done, it should look about like this. You see onions in there. I could have put more onions. Hold on. I could have put more onions and more peppers in there, but anyway. It should look like this. It smells amazing. It is going to taste great. I promise you. You're going to love this. All right, so my potatoes are done. They're nice, soft, tender. Let's taste it. And they are amazing, right? But one thing is missing. Ketchup. Now it's perfect.